Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to mumble! Introducing first, in the black corner, in his trademark office suit jacket tie, with a record of over 8,000 tax returns and 1,000 VAS statements lodged, standing 5'11" and weighing in at... He is the man with the tax plan, the sultan of spreadsheets, the baron of VAS statements, the king of ka-ching. Hailing from Ballarat, Victoria, Peter Angel! And in the white corner, sporting his struggling artist casuals, with a record of 1.5 feature-length films, 1 web series and numerous award-winning shorts, standing 5'10" and weighing in at... The Kubrick of Claptrap, the Mac Daddy of the MacGuffin, the Caesar of subtext, the champion of all things indie, the arrogant know-it-all Israeli bastard, now hailing from Melbourne, Victoria, the unpronounceable... How do you say this? Itai Guberman! Sit back and enjoy as they trade opinion jabs, fighting for their favourites and battling politely through the best and worst of... well, anything they see fit, really. The accountant versus the filmmaker. The financial consultant versus the artist. What can possibly go wrong? Tune in and find out on the Best and Worst podcast, where it ain't all black and white.
Hello and welcome to the Best and Worst podcast. My name's Peter Angel and I'm talking today with...
Hi everyone. Just a quick message to hopefully avoid any confusion and keep you all up to date. For those unaware, our Best and Worst podcast co-founder and co-host Peter Angel, whose voice you just heard welcoming you to the podcast, my close friend and business partner of almost 30 years, passed away in late March of this year. We recorded 9 episodes 0 to 8, which have all been edited, uploaded and released for you to enjoy. After some thought, I decided to continue the podcast in Peter's memory, as he loved it so much and it was really an enjoyable project for us to work on together, and I hope to make him proud. I decided to keep the podcast intro as is, at least for this season, and reassess at a later stage. All new episodes will include special guest co-hosts. I hope most of you will go back and listen to all the episodes with Peter co-hosting and get to know him a little more. I also hope you continue to support the podcast into the future and help us do this for Peter. The podcast started as a passion project involving 2 friends with a common interest and a desire to share that with the general public, which I hope to continue in that same direction. It won't be easy without Peter, as he was such an important part of this whole idea, but it will continue with him in mind and spirit and be just another way to keep his memory alive. Thanks for listening, and now, on with the show. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Best and Worst podcast. Today we're having a bit of a different episode, a season ender, with the Best and Worst Christmas films, I guess. I have with me 2 guest hosts for this episode. Quimby, who we've met before. Hello. Quimby.
Hello, how are you?
How are you? The episode we did, what was it? Was it Cameron Crowe?
Cameron Crowe, yep.
Yeah, that was the episode we did a few weeks back. And today we also have with us Tamara Heinjus. Hey, Tam.
Hello. Guest host is a bit of a far shot with my name, though. Really.
Everybody's guest hosting here. If you're on the show, you're a guest host. But
I'm thrilled to be a guest host. Thank you.
We are thrilled to have you, and also people might recognize Tammy's voice from our intro. So there you go. Everything's coming full circle. But as I was thinking about doing a Christmas episode, I could not be more far removed from Christmas. Being Jewish and all, I've never really celebrated it, or, it doesn't really hold that much of an importance to me. And Christmas films, researching for this episode, I actually found out how unaware I am, I guess, of some films being Christmas films. And I thought I need to have, 1 or 2 people on this episode with me who can actually cover for that, the fact that I have really, no relation to Christmas. And I figured, who loves Christmas more than you 2?
I don't know. I don't think anyone loves it more than Quimby. Quimby's always the first with the Christmas cards every year.
I haven't even sent them out this year. This year is just fallen by the wayside for me. Everything's just turned into a pile of garbage this year.
You were going to say dog shit, right?
I'm trying to keep it rated PG at least.
I think shit is okay. I'll try to avoid the other one.
Anyway, this year, Christmas is just not like it usually is.
Yeah, for you more than for others, I think. With COVID and all that, I think it's actually it might be a for a lot of people sort of a way back to Christmas now that people can actually see their families this year. So it'll be
Now, I'm
interesting.
going to have to interrupt really quickly to say there's a bushfire just down the road. So if I have to leave in a hurry, that's what that's all about.
No. You stay and you go down with the ship.
Priorities, Quimby.
Jesus, unbelievable! A little
Trying to get you
bushfire
in
and
some
she's running
festive
off.
spirit.
It's just a little Christmas bonfire.
It's getting hot in here, but I can't leave. Ah!
Well, it's not like your house is flammable or anything.
No, just a log cabin.
Exactly. How far down the road?
Look, as the crow flies, it's pretty bloody close, but there's no wind and the grass is all green, so I don't think it'll go anywhere. Just letting you know, just in case I've got to jump off in a hurry.
So you have the car packed and everything? The kids are ready
Oh,
to
no,
go?
no, it actually just popped up on my emergency thing. That's the bushfire just down the road.
Cool.
It'd be maybe 700 or 800 meters away.
Oh my gosh.
That's not far. I thought you were going to say a few kilometers.
Do we need to postpone this?
No, there's no wind and the grass is all green, so it's not going to go anywhere. It's just small. It's just that if it grows, then I might have to go.
Can you see it through the window?
There's too many trees between here and the bushfire for me to see it through the window.
And they're all like dry leaves, right? So yeah, so it's not going to get to you quickly or anything. Yeah.
Isn't there only one way into your street?
Yeah.
We'll be fine. The worst that'll happen is that we'll burn up and then I'll be with Peter again. So it's win-win.
Oh, no, not good.
I don't know. If you get to heaven all crispy, I'm not sure that's what he wants.
Just made me spit through my nose.
The conversation's gone really Christmassy.
Okay, so this is just random.
I'm glad you could edit this out.
What edit this out? No, this is all staying in.
Oh,
Did you just say you just snorted eggnog?
No, Pepsi.
What came out your nose?
Pepsi.
Pepsi. Oh, that's even better with all the fizz. Like it.
Brand placement.
Oh.
Is it Pepsi Max?
Oh yeah, of course.
Of course. That's the only thing. The only Pepsi there is. Nice.
Are we getting sponsorship for this now?
Well, either that or burnt alive. So So
can I just clarify? Was that your notification from your emergency services app, or was it an actual message telling you to get out?
No, it's just a notification from the emergency services app. It'll be like I said, the grass is green. There's no wind. It won't turn into anything. I just thought I'd let you know in case I suddenly disappear.
Is that the message they sent you? Just wanted to let you know, just in case you wanted to be aware there's a fire down the road?
It just comes up. You have your little watch area. It comes up with there's a fire in your watch area. And this one just happens to be, just down the road.
Yeah, but is this like grab some marshmallows and some sticks and come over? Or is this get in the car and get the fudge out of here?
It's too small for that yet. Look, this is like, we'll get probably, 15 or 20 of these a year. And none of them, it's very rarely that it's serious enough that you feel like you've got to leave, which I shouldn't be saying this because the CFA would say, no, they're all serious and you need to leave. But if you go into town every time there's a little fire someplace, then, you might as well move.
It's not a bad point. We don't get many of those this way.
No, you just get locked down for 9 months at a time.
Now we've only been getting strong wind warnings and stuff like that hold on to your roof kind of thing lately, but that's it.
Yeah, well, with the windstorm a few weeks ago, a tree came down almost on the house, and I got out the chainsaw myself and cut it up.
Go you!
First time ever with a chainsaw.
The real chainsaw massacre.
Pretty much, but it's amazing how much you can do with one arm.
It is. So Christmas films, huh? We are well on track. Okay, so in the past, what we've done is really go with a certain director or actor or some kind of film franchise, and we just rated them from worst to best, actually. Here we're gonna do it differently because Christmas films are plenty. So we all picked 3 best and 3 worst, and we're just kind of gonna go through them and see where the conversation takes us. So because Quimby might have to go earlier, if the fire comes in, Quimby, why don't you start with your 3 worst?
My 3 worst. Well, it's actually, I had to
start from
do a lot of
3 to
narrowing
1.
down, and 3 to 1. Well, first of all, I should explain I had to do a lot of narrowing down because, as you know, there's a lot of those, made-for-TV Christmas movies, and they all suck. So I've decided to go only with movies that were actually released to the box office. So my absolute least favorite Christmas movie is Christmas with the Cranks.
That's your absolute worst. Okay, so that's your number 1, not your number 3.
Are we going for best to worst or worst to best?
Well, it doesn't really matter, I guess, because this is your worst list, but I meant from your 3 to your 1.
Okay, I'll go from.
Doesn't matter. You've already
edit that out. I will.
That's true. That's Tammy's number 1 best, by the way. No, I'm just joking. It's number 2.
All right, number 1 in my worst.
So number 3 in your worst. So your 3rd worst Christmas film of all time.
My 3rd worst Christmas film of all time, and this is going to be controversial. It's A Wonderful Life.
The 1946 film?
Yes.
Okay. That would be probably the one that would pop up as number 1 for a lot of people, I assume, especially, Christmas purists, let's call it.
Yep. I've got a love-hate relationship with this movie, but mostly it's just really boring. It takes too long to get to the point.
I'll just hit you with some numbers on this one before you tell us exactly why you hate it so much. But on IMDb, it ranks 8.6, which is huge. 8.6 is very high. The film had a budget of $3.2 million, which is a lot for 1946, and it brought in $6.2 million for a almost twice its budget, so really 1.9. But back in the day, that probably would have put it in a profit because they really didn't have much, in the way of marketing budgets, I guess, in the 40s. But since then, with TV rights and streaming and all the rest of it, this film has been seen and purchased a lot, physical media and all the rest of it. So it's probably a lock to say that it's made quite a bit of money over the years. But yeah, tell us why you love it so much.
Well, interestingly enough, this was actually not made as a Christmas movie. It became a Christmas movie because I believe it was NBC in the US got it for very cheap. Nobody watched TV on Christmas Day, so they just started playing it every year, and somehow it caught on. It's not that I hate this movie. It's just that I think it's very overrated. The story is fine, but it just gets really slow. It drags a lot in the middle when it's sort of, exploring the background of Frank Bailey's life. It just drags and drags and drags. And then it's just wraps up very quickly. And I don't know. I remember watching this last year with Peter. It was the first time we actually watched it together. And he was just sitting there going, I thought this movie was better than this. This is so slow. And it is. It's actually really slow if you watch it as a film. It has that feel-good factor and all the rest. And everybody remembers, teacher says, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. But if you look at it objectively, it just drags in the middle. It takes a long time to get to the point.
It hasn't aged well, you're saying?
It's not like it's aged poorly. It's not like there's a lot of racism or sexism or anything like that in it, although the portrayal of, his wife, if they don't get married, is this sort of, very rigid, stern, spinster type character is a little bit over the top. But it's just that it just doesn't have a good pace to it.
Yeah, aged in that way, I mean, because probably in the 40s, people had a bit more patience and films were a bit slower. But I see what you mean. I mean, this is, 1946, directed by legendary, Frank Capra, starring Jimmy Stewart. I saw this film many, many years ago, and I don't really remember a whole lot. So it didn't really make much of an impression on me, I have to say. But it's not in my worst list.
It's not like it's a bad movie. It's just that I think it's highly overrated for what it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Tam, have you seen it? Do you have a take on It's a Wonderful Life?
Same as you. I've seen it a few years ago, but I remember feeling as though I was wading through the film, and I don't even know if I finished watching it. I was just like, oh, I just can't. So yeah, no, it didn't make a great impact on me either.
Yeah, like a lot of the sort of Christmas classics, I think this falls into that group. Miracle on, what is it, 43rd Street or whatever. But all these types of classics really don't hit home with me. I think they were made for American audiences at the time they were made, and it's all, they're very Christmassy, which doesn't really necessarily hit me. I need more of a story. I need it to be interesting, whether it's funny or depressing or, even anti-Christmas, whichever way it goes. But those are just very vanilla for me. So I'm with you on that, Quimby. But it didn't get to my worst list, but I can definitely see it. What's your second worst?
Second worst is The Santa Claus, the Tim Allen movie.
Oh, yeah. Let me see. This one was made in 94. It has an IMDb average of 6.5. It was made for $22 million. It brought back $191 million in the box office for 8.7 times its budget. So it's made a nice profit, with DVDs and the rest. Tell us more about why you hate it so.
I remember watching this in the cinema and not actually hating it, but I think it's aged very poorly. I think there's a lot of sort of sexual innuendo that's just very, very dated, especially now. And the children are just appalling actors, especially the children who play the elves. It's just so, I never really like it when elves are just, children with funny ears put on. And this movie, it just really grates me for some reason. And I just think it's just not, I don't think it's a good movie to watch with little kids when they're still in the believing in Santa Claus phase, because it has a lot about, Santa Claus isn't real, blah, blah, blah. But it's also not a charming movie for adults or anything else. It just sort of, there's just no charm to it, nothing special about it. And I just think that it's, again, overrated and just not that good of a movie.
Tam, you have a take on this one?
I can see the front cover in my head, but I can't remember the film. It just still with me. I didn't actually even consider it as part of my list of my worst or of my best. That's how insignificant that film is to me.
It's the one where he falls off the roof, and the real Santa Claus falls off the roof, and Tim Allen comes out and sees him, and then suddenly he puts on the suit, and suddenly he's Santa Claus, and he spends the next year sort of fighting against Santa Claus.
All of a sudden grows the white beard, and his belly sort of all of a sudden gets fat for no reason, and
he starts off being really ignorant or arrogant, and then by the end of it, he actually does have some kind of love for humankind. Is that kind of vibe?
I actually don't remember how it was in the beginning. But strangely though, when I made my lists, it was just outside my top 3. It's my number 4 worst film. So yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say your number 4 best film, and I was going to
No. I actually managed a 20 film list of, best or favorite or whatever you want to call it, Christmas films for me. And it definitely didn't come close to that. But
more effort into
it was an effort. It just, in the beginning, I couldn't come up with any, and then they just started coming to me, and I was like, oh, that had Christmas in it. This had Christmas in it. So a whole list. But this one, it just popped into my head straight away as far as worst, and it was in my top 3 for a while, and then I dropped it down to just the 4th. But it's definitely not one of my favorites. So again, where are we? Your absolute worst Christmas film. Give it to us.
My absolute worst film, and this one has no redeeming feature whatsoever, is Christmas with the Cranks, which probably most people haven't seen, and please save yourself and don't bother.
The reason this is funny is because this is also on Tammy's list, which we will find out soon enough. But I will share that this one has also made my worst list. And it's at number 2 for me for worst. So this is going to be fun. But Christmas with the Cranks, made in 2004, IMDb average of 5.4, a $60 million budget, which I thought was a bit crazy.
Well, they've had to pay Jamie Lee Curtis a buttload of money to get her to make this one.
And it brought back 97 million for like a 1.6 times the budget sort of return, which means it lost money, which is interesting. But I just remember thinking this is a comedy, and I did not laugh at any point in that movie. Tammy has a different take, and we're gonna hear it a bit later. I want to save this. So let's move away from it for now.
Oh, all right.
It'll be funnier.
I want to hear what Quimby hates.
Yeah, go ahead.
I hated The Suburbia. I hated how there's all these neighbors, and we're supposed to think the cranks are the bad people here. And there's all these neighbors who are like, you have to put the frosty on your roof. You have to do this. You have to do that. And they basically bully them into doing this. And at the end, they're like, oh, this is fabulous. We should just go ahead with what everybody else is doing. This is lovely. And the other thing I really hate about this movie is that they think that it's a failure that their daughter's in the Peace Corps. Do you know how hard it is to get into the Peace Corps? And then she's there for like 5 minutes and she meets some guy and she flies back. And it's like, you can't do that with the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps is a commitment. You take it seriously because it's like freaking super competitive to get in there. So
tell us how you really feel.
That's what you've taken from that movie, Quimby. I love that. That's the thing that you've taken. I love it.
I think one of the reasons that one of the reasons that it's in my worst list is also the reason that another film is in there, but it's mostly because I was really disappointed. For me, it was just a massive disappointment because of the cast. I expected it to be funny and good, and also the writers. It was written by John Grisham and Chris Columbus. One like a very famous writer for other types of films, but he wrote a novel called Skipping Christmas, which this is based on. It was
which I read, and it's
Yeah.
equally horrible. And I read that before I watched the movie, and I still thought, okay, I'll give the movie. I hated the book, but I still thought I'll give the movie a try because of the cast. And all I can say is that the movie is faithful to the book.
But for you, that's two films in your bottom three with Tim Allen.
Yeah, not a big Tim Allen fan.
But this one also had Jamie Lee Curtis and Dan Aykroyd, M. Emmett Walsh, Chich Marin, Jake Busey. A pretty good
And
cast.
they must have been, Cheech being in there makes sense because they must have been really high to agree to this film.
Well, Chich would agree to anything, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't love it, but soon enough we're going to get a completely different take on this one. But Tammy, let's move on with your three worst Christmas films. So what was your third worst? Let's start there.
Oh, now this is going to be controversial. And can I just say, I agree, Quimby. I disregarded any TV Christmas film. None of those entered my decision-making process. But my third worst Christmas film is Home Alone.
Your third worst?
Yeah, that's my third worst. I changed my order.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because much like Christmas with the Cranks, pulling a bit of a reverse, Home Alone actually appears on someone's best list, which we will talk about later. But yeah, now this one is an interesting one. Made in 1990, IMDb score of 7.6, which is pretty high. It had an $18 million budget, brought back $477 million, so 26.5 times its budget, which means massive profit. And then it spawned off all those sequels after that, which were pretty lame. Actually, the second one was all right. I don't know. I actually like that one. It's one of those films that, you kind of always thought about it as kind of a kid's film. But to me, what makes the film is really Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. I thought they were hilarious. But yeah, overall, I can understand people liking it or disliking it, really.
I think Macaulay Culkin just annoys me. I just find him a smarmy kid, and I just can't stand watching his face. I put him in any film, let alone a Christmas film, and I just don't like it. But for me, there was no magic in it. And, your family just doesn't disappear, and you don't sit on a plane and then suddenly remember you don't have your son. I just could not get my head around the fact that someone would do that. It's just not believable.
You didn't grow up in a big family, did you? I'm one of 5 kids. I can believe it.
I have to say, though, this film was directed by Chris Columbus, who was the co-writer on Christmas with the Cranks.
Look, the booby traps are impressive, and Joe Pesci is a standout, but, he clearly didn't get that kind of intelligence from his parents if they've left him at home. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I haven't heard many real stories of something like that happening. But again, it's a film. You kind of don't have to. But what I did, I kind of put that aside, I think, when I watched this film and just tried to enjoy it. I understand what you're saying also about Macaulay Culkin being a sort of a smarmy kid. He seems too aware that he's actually a good actor or, better than average kid actor at the time. He still managed to pull off a couple of funnies, in it. But I think Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci just cracked me up in this. And, it also has, in a smaller part, John Candy. Yeah. It in the beginning when I started putting the list together, I thought it was going to finish in like my top 10 somewhere, and it ended up slipping lower than that. But yeah, I don't know. I never thought of it as a worst.
So you're telling me that there's a reversal with this film with one of us three, Quimby.
Not mentioning any
it's
names.
No
names.
it's
No
actually
names.
not. It's not Home Alone. It's Home Alone 2.
What? Don't confuse
I'm very
me.
clearly said Home Alone 2, and that's
I
because of
don't
my
think
kids'
so.
reaction to it. Yes, I did.
Did you? I'm gonna check
Yes, I
that.
did.
I'm gonna check that because I had
Attention
it
to
as Home
detail.
Alone. So that was your third worst film?
Third least favorite. Yeah. So my
Third least.
second least favorite is Polar Express.
Polar Express. I have to say that's not the order you sent me, but whatever.
No, that's
We'll
right.
move
I
on.
didn't. I changed my mind after I've been thinking very deeply about this, and I have reasons for my number one being my number one. Well, actually, one really
I'll
good
allow
reason.
it. You know,
But yeah,
we
Polar
usually
Express.
we're very much sticklers for detail usually, but I'll allow it this time.
No, you have to be
As you
fluid.
can tell.
You have to be fluid.
But before you get into it, I'll just give the spiel. This is like I'm
yes,
doing,
do.
this is Peter's accountant corner.
Yes,
But
yes.
Polar Express, 6.6 on IMDb, a whopping $165 million budget. By far, actually not by that far, but by quite a bit, the biggest budget out of all the films that we have on our lists. It brought back $314 million for 2.1 times its budget, which probably puts it at a loss still. Go on and rip it a new one.
I don't mind the animation aspect of it. I actually found that quite refreshing in terms of a Christmas film, but a lot like Quimby with her choices, and you said previously, I just felt underwhelmed with it. There was so much hype about it and being Tom Hanks, and I just walked away disappointed, I guess, and I thought, oh, well, that was a bit deflating, really, as opposed to doing what it set out to achieve.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's a film I watched, left no impression on me.
I've actually never seen it because that year the Meyer Christmas window was Polar Express, and I figured after I saw the window, I didn't need to go see the movie.
Fair enough. You didn't miss out on much. I'm not a big fan of animated films that try to make it look like, they're close to making animated characters that look real. It never looked real at any point, and all the emotion that they say that those animations supposed to convey to us, I actually get more from older animation that doesn't try to look realistic because it doesn't manage to anyway. I don't know, it just fell flat for me, this one. I didn't really feel anything, but I get that with Steven Spielberg anyway a lot.
Oh, yeah.
His films just try to always tell you how to feel, when to feel it. It's either the music or something. It's just so manipulative, but too obvious. So yeah, I'm not a fan of that one either, but it's not on my worst list, but I'm kind of indifferent about it more than anything, which is never a good thing with movies.
I don't really get the point of trying to make animation look real. It's, if you want to do that, just use real people.
Correct. I feel the same way. But yeah, that's an interesting one, Tam, because it's as soon as I saw it, I thought, yeah, I can see that. But I didn't think of it when I was, doing my list as a worst. But I can definitely see it.
You want my number one now?
Hit me.
My number one least favorite Christmas film. Drum roll, please. How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
How the Grinch stole. How indeed? How did he steal Christmas? I want to know. Because I have to say, I am not 100% sure that I've seen this movie.
Is this the Jim Carrey one?
It is the Jim Carrey one from 2000. This one has a 6.2 IMDb average. The reason that I sort of kind of backpedaled a bit about the budget before, because this one is the second highest budget. So not quite as high as the Polar Express, but 123 million. But it actually brought back 346 million for 2.8 times its budget. So it would have been close to breaking even, if not broken even, and made maybe a little bit. But I don't know. This one, I just found the whole, costume so unbelievable.
Oh, I hated the costumes. I hated the faces. I hated the accents. Oh, everything about this film, but especially Jim Carrey. I hated his slapstick comedy in this film. It just didn't sit right for me.
Yeah. Do you usually like him or not?
I'm not a massive fan, but I can appreciate him in the right setting. But I just don't feel as though he was the right Grinch. But is there ever a good Grinch? I don't know. The whole thing makes me feel uncomfortable and awkward, and I actually can't watch it.
That was the reason for me, like that I didn't watch it. I thought like it didn't really do anything for me. And at that stage, I would have watched any Jim Carrey film that came out. When this one came out, I was like, you know what, I'll give it a pass. And I did. Unfortunately, I can't really say, much more about it because I haven't put in the time and sat through it. But yeah, it's.
What about you, Quimby? Do you like it?
The movie. No, see, if you'd said the original TV special, I would have had to go up there and fight with you.
I would have liked to have seen that.
Coming next on the Best West podcast.
Yeah.
Because I think the cartoon that was made in the 60s has quite a bit of charm to it. And that musical number, that musical song, you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. I mean, it's lovely. But yeah, the Jim Carrey movie. the Jim Carrey movie, it just seemed pointless. And it seemed, what's the point? Why mess with perfection?
Perfection, you say?
Well, perfection might be a little bit too far. But the cartoon, it's quite charming, and it's, it tells the story well, and it doesn't have any of the sort of the slapstick or I would actually say maybe sentimentality of the Jim Carrey movie.
I don't know if it doesn't, because it just felt like it was trying too hard.
Yeah,
it
did.
Just from the trailers and stuff, it felt like it's trying too hard, and it just made me kind of go the other way. Like, I don't want to watch it, and I didn't. So yeah. So that's not a bad one. At least we're kind of in agreement on. I mean, aside from maybe Home Alone, which I kind of like, but Polar Express and The Grinch That Stole Christmas, I would definitely not argue with those being on anyone's worst list. Just really kind of shitty Christmas films.
I'd like to hear yours now.
Although I know a lot of people do like them, but there's no accounting for taste. Which
no, some people actually like Christmas with the Cranks. So there's really
get ready, because I think you're gonna argue some of my worst. But my worst film, my worst Christmas film, the one that kind of nudged the Santa Claus down, and I don't think it's a worse film than the Santa Claus. I think it just disappointed me more. But that's The Family Stone from 2005. I don't know if you guys, I think Quimby is aware of this one. I'm not sure if you are, Tam. That's a film with Sarah Jessica Parker, Dermot Mulroney, Claire Danes, Diane Keaton. It was like a big sort of ensemble cast. It was supposed to be really big. I think it didn't end up being as big as they thought. It's a film with a 6.3 IMDb average, $18 million budget, 93 million return so 5.2 times the budget. Definitely made a profit. But reviews were kind of not great at the time, I remember. And then I still expected it to be good, and I watched it and I thought it just wasn't. So that's my third. Anything?
I remember watching this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've seen this movie, and I'm looking at IMDb right now about it because I can't remember anything about it. That's how memorable it was for me.
That's how I felt about it. It had a lot of other favorites. Rachel McAdams, Craig T. Nelson, Luke Wilson, Paul Schneider. Just such a massive cast at the time, I thought, and I expected so much from it, and ended up with like, okay, I forgot about it. I think as soon as the credits were rolling. So Have you seen it, Tam?
Yeah, again, I'm the same. I've seen it. It's gone in one side of my brain and gone straight out the other side. There's no lasting impression from it. I remember feeling, like, oh, that was nice.
So it's not just me.
No.
and that's the thing I'm saying. It, like, I don't actually think it's that bad of a film, but it's not as good as it should have been, and that left me disappointed, and I don't like to be disappointed. So number 3 you are. My number 2 is one we've already mentioned. It's Christmas with the Cranks, which we've discussed as to why I think it's so awesome. And that one was the same. It was just a very good cast, and it looked like it was going to be a funny film. And then I watched it and I was like, where is the funny? I need the funny. Bring back the funny. There was no funny. How could an unfunny comedy, basically? But yeah. So that's that. It actually had me excited, especially for having Dan Aykroyd and Jamie Lee Curtis in the same film after Trading Places, which is also a Christmas film, by the way.
I would basically watch Dan Aykroyd and Jamie Lee Curtis, filing their nails, which is why, Christmas with the Cranks was so disappointing. Because how can you take those people and make something so bad?
The nail filing does sound very exciting indeed. Yeah.
I didn't realize Christmas films were just going to be such a polarizing conversation.
That's where all the fun is, really. But with people talking about action films being Christmas films, and there's tons of arguments on social media, is this a Christmas film? This is not a Christmas film. Yeah, I expected there to be some of that here, and there will be more when we get to my top. But my absolute worst. And this film just kind of, I don't know why, it just made me cringe. I half suspect at least one of you would have liked it. Maybe not connected it with Christmas so much, but it's Bridget Jones' Diary, 2001.
I don't think that's a Christmas movie. I think you're pushing it there.
I don't know. A lot of lists said it as a Christmas movie. It happens in Christmas. I remember the whole thing with the Christmas sweaters and all the rest of it. And I don't know. This film just makes me cringe.
Wait, so you don't even like it as a film, let alone a Christmas film? Is that what you're saying?
No, I love romantic comedies, and I watched that one, and I just thought, I don't know, all of it. It's just she is so annoying, and it's not even that I don't like Renee Zellweger. It's just this role. She just annoyed the crap out of me that I didn't want her to end up happy. When you don't want your main character to find love and get all she wants, she's just such a shallow character that
I disagree. You can't be shallow with underwear like that. I'm sorry.
That's a point.
That's comfort.
That's true. I'll pay that. But Hugh Grant, who I wasn't a big fan of at the time, but I've grown to like over the years. Even when I watch him in this, don't like this film. It had a 6.7 IMDb average, a $25 million budget that brought back $282 million at the box office for 11.3 times its budget, and massive success. And I just could not see it. I tried. I think I've actually seen it twice, and I'm not sure which time I hated it more. And
it's not on my radar as a Christmas film. I think it's a great film, though.
It wasn't on mine initially, but then when I saw it appear on several Christmas lists online, I thought, okay, that's not a bad point. It does have quite a bit of Christmas in it, so it's a Christmas.
I don't know. I think having a couple of Christmas scenes doesn't make it a Christmas film. I think that's a bit. I just disagree with you.
But that's the sort of how I termed it in the beginning. If it has anything to do with Christmas, you could put it on your lists. It doesn't really matter. But like I said, I went online after I put the list together, and it wasn't on my list at the time. And I saw it on about 7 out of 10 lists. And I thought, okay, that's not a bad point. I'll put it in mine. And I really hate the crap out of that film. So it's my number one, my worst.
I liked it initially, but I don't know. I don't think it's aged well in its attitudes. Like the whole
well, the Me Too movement would love it.
Well, I think there's just like the whole, I love you just the way you are. It's like, it's kind of a backhanded compliment, isn't it? It's like, I know you're dumpy and fat and bad with your job, but, I still like you.
I just also think she's a shitty role model. So, that's another thing, another reason why I didn't like it. I think if you're going to have, your main role be a woman, make her a strong one, make it interesting. But she's just so blah. I could go on for ages about how much I hate this one.
Have we done a best and worst about female protagonists? Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. I have a lot for best actually, but not this one. And I have to say, I just realized that my top 10 films, I have 2 films in there that have Hugh Grant in them. So it wasn't him. So where are we now? Are we off to the best?
Yes.
We've done our worst. We got it out of our system. Christmas sucks. And now Christmas becomes good again. So Quimby, we started with you. Let's go back to you. Let's go with your top 3 Christmas films from 3 to 1. Leave the best for last.
All right. So my third top Christmas film would have to be National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Nice. Because this is actually, I think, hang on, let me see. Where did you rate on your worst Christmas with the Cranks? No, you had it your number 1 worst. Okay, so this is our first ding, ding, ding. I'm going to have to reveal that Tammy also has it at number 3 on her list.
Woohoo! High fives.
Yep, you can high five. So we can talk about it a little bit now and a little bit later. But this one has a 7.6 IMDb score, a $27 million budget with $74 million return for 2.74 times the budget return, which is probably putting it at about a break-even mark. But over the years, I would say it probably made some money with DVD sales, Blu-ray, blah, TV rights, all the rest of it. So yeah, tell us why you love it so.
I just think it's one of those classics you can go back to over and over again, and it's just consistently funny. I mean, even all these years later, it's still funny. And who can, there's just classic moments like the squirrel in the tree, or anything that Cousin Eddie does. It just, they're just always. It's always good for a laugh, and it always makes you feel good, even though it's also a little bit stupid, but it's stupid in a good way.
For me, it was stupid in a bad way. I'm not a big fan of the movie. I know a lot of people like it. I understand why, but for me, it just crossed the stupid line, where it was not funny. And I think it's not just this one; it's a lot of the National Lampoon's films with the Griswolds and all that. Not my favorites. I mean, I know it's John Hughes as well. John Hughes, I'm up and down with, kind of. I like a lot of his stuff. I don't like some others. But yeah, this one was gonna make it to my sort of top worst at one point, and then I just thought, okay, it's not that bad, and I didn't have it in there. But yeah, you want to tell us how you feel about it, Tam?
Oh, look, we, as a family, we often pride ourselves on being almost like the Griswolds. So, for a start, it's that family dynamic that I love. The dad's just so dad, and the mum's like the intelligent, she's got it all going on. And the kids, oh God, so funny when they go and get the Christmas tree and they're walking through the snow. I just love it when she goes, Mom, I can't feel my hips. And then she yells out, Audrey can't feel her hips. Those little things for me are just so hilarious with that film. And I could keep going. Do you want me to?
Sure.
The Christmas lights on the house, all the trouble they have getting the lights on the house. And then finally he plugs it in, but it's actually Mum that flicks the switch. And then the music, and it all just combines in this great crescendo of Christmas. And I just love it. It's a fantastic film.
I have to say, I wasn't clear before. John Hughes did not direct it; he just wrote it. But the thing is, you know what I think the best thing about this film is? The tagline. Do you know what the tagline for it is?
No.
You'll crack up.
See, even that's funny.
That's funny. That's what I'm saying. That's the best thing about the film.
I think something else that's nice about the film is that, I mean, I'm sure you'll agree, Tam, that Christmas. When you're a mom, Christmas falls so much on your shoulders. And it's nice that, here's this dad who gets way over the top with everything, and just takes it all way too far. When, that's usually how I feel like I'm like at Christmas. I'm the one who's taking everything too far. Oh,
no question. I have no idea. But I thought you were more into Festivus than Christmas at home.
Oh, we celebrate both. We celebrate all the holidays here.
You're a dual culture household.
Except for the ones that make you fast,
Oh yeah,
we ignore those holidays.
Yeah, leave that to the Jews.
Exactly. But no, we always celebrate Festivus with feats of strength, and every year it's a tradition. So
Peter was complaining that Callan's getting dangerously close to beating him. So
well, okay, our feats of strength is everybody puts on socks, and then we push each other around the through the dining room, and you've got to get the person. You've got to get the person either into the family room or else into the hallway going towards the office. And so, so that's the feats of strength part. And it sounds like fun, but it actually gets brutally hurtful sometimes.
Competitive?
Oh, it's very competitive, but it's also my kids are mean.
I can hear Tammy is actually taking notes, thinking we got to try this one.
Oh, here comes a new tradition.
Yeah, exactly.
We do leave off the bit about going around and telling everybody how they've disappointed us through the year.
Oh, love it. Love that one. That is a big one.
Because apparently it's bad for growing self-esteem.
Really?
Yeah, who knew?
I don't know. I don't get it. That's how it was in my house. My self-esteem is fine. What is it? The airing of grievances, yeah?
The airing of grievances, yes. We don't do the airing of grievances. We sometimes do in a very jokey way, but yeah, we don't let that one. But the feats of strength is a definite must every year.
Not quite the Griswolds, though, I have to say. But another thing about this film, Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo in the lead roles, and Juliette Lewis is one of the kids, I think. But it had a great supporting cast. Some actual legends in this one: Diane Ladd and E.G. Marshall and John Randolph. Doris Roberts is in this, and Randy Quaid. So that's another positive in my mind. But still, I don't know. It's just with especially Julia Louis-Dreyfus is in this somewhere, but Chevy Chase for
Julia
me,
Louis-Dreyfus is the neighbor next door, the snotty, yuppie neighbor who
mhm,
she and her partner are always complaining about everything they do, the
yeah,
Griswolds do, and then the icicle shoots through the window and breaks their stereo system. That's Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
yeah.
I
The
think they end up
thing,
breaking up over it.
as they should. But the thing with like Chevy Chase for me, very 50-50. Like I love him in a lot of films where he just cracks me up. Like he's got that delivery that is just fantastic. And sometimes it's just way over the top. It's just more stupid than funny, and it just doesn't, hit home with me. And I think that's what this film was like for me. So yeah, so where are we now that we've Griswold out?
Quimby's number 2.
Number 2, which you
Okay.
stated before. But let's hear
Number
it
2 is
again.
Home Alone 2.
1992, 6.8 IMDb average, $28 million budget, $359 million return, 12.8 times its budget, massive success again. So yeah, so what I want to know really is what is the reason you like number 2 better than number 1, better than the original?
And it basically all comes down to my kids' reaction. Because my kids, they're rolling on the floor laughing when they watch this movie, and it's just really fun to watch my kids so happy and excited about something. So that's basically all it comes down to. I think I have this thing with sequels that they're going to be, a good sequel is 80% as good as the original, and this is one of the few sequels that I think is more than 80% as good as the original. So there's that, but mostly it's just my kids' reaction to it. I like seeing them laugh about something.
Yeah,
Is this
no,
the
I
one
think
with the lady in the park at the end?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
look, I liked it. I thought it was, not as good necessarily as the original, but somewhere up there. But it was too similar to the original as well. So that kind of took it down a little bit for me, because it was like watching the same thing all over again. Maybe that's just me. So Tam, what do you think about Home Alone 2?
Well, that one has made an impact because I do remember the end of it, and I remember my kids enjoying that film as well, Quimby. Again, are you really going to be strayed from your family in an airport and end up on a flight to New York? But
Apparently more than once.
Put that aside. So,
well, these days you couldn't, but back then they actually had pretty loose security, so you might have been able to.
Not only that, back then your kids were not that important. You could leave them at home and go on holiday. It's just one of those things. It's like smoking on airplanes. Things have changed.
Oh, that used to happen. Hey, amazing.
I remember it clearly.
Yeah. But I think also the inclusion of a toy shop in that film, it just made it a little bit more Christmassy. Yeah, but no, I would prefer, if I had to watch a Home Alone, it would be that one.
Nice. So you would both put it up as the favorite out of that franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Quimbus, hit us with your number 1. Let's do it.
My number 1 Christmas movie is Elf.
2003, Will Ferrell. IMDb 7 out of 10. Budget 33 million. Box office 224 million for a 6.8 times the budget, which puts it at a success. Okay, tell us a bit more about it.
I just think this movie is, magical in all the ways that a Christmas movie is supposed to be magical. It just, for me, it just hits all those buttons. I think it's sweet without being saccharine, despite his liberal use of syrup and everything. I think that it's just a really good, family-friendly movie that everybody gets something out of. I just find it just all around a very enjoyable Christmas movie that we keep going back to year after year. So.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm going to let Tammy talk about it. I'm going to sit this one out because I actually have not seen it. It's almost criminal, for me not to see it because, Jon Favreau directed and Will Ferrell and James Caan, Bob Newhart and blah. But I just never got around to it. I think I always meant to watch it and never got to it. So, but at the same time, being a Christmas film, I think it just didn't, I didn't gravitate towards rushing to see it, which is why it ended up slipping through the cracks. But what did you think about it, Tam?
Here's the thing. I actually haven't seen it either.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and I can explain why.
I don't think we're going to accept your explanation.
I've always been scared to watch it because I didn't want it to destroy how I felt about Christmas. Does that make sense? It's
Not
weird. No. Yeah, so I don't know. I've been scared to watch it, and I think it may have stemmed from, Grinch memories. I just never wanted to sit down, watch it, and be disappointed.
Well,
I don't think you would. And, I've got sorry.
sorry, as you're talking about it, I'm looking at the IMDb cast list for this film, and it's like Will Ferrell, James Caan, Bob Newhart, Zooey Deschanel, Ed Asner, Mary Steenburgen, Peter Dinklage, Amy Sedaris, Michael Lerner, Andy Richter. It's like it doesn't end. Artie Lang is in
And
this, and I'm like, okay, Tam. After this podcast, we're gonna have to make a deal that we're both gonna see this movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
and Bob Newhart is brilliant as Papa Elf. He's got that, the same dry. It's very much in keeping with the characters he always plays, but it's just very good. And then, Peter Dinklage, his role as a children's author it's hilarious. And call me Elf one more time. It's just sweet. And
He's pretty good in everything, though, at least pretty
He
good,
is.
if not brilliant. So, yeah.
he is. And it's just, with that, I like the fish out of water aspect of, Will Ferrell is the very innocent, very naive, like he grew up in the North Pole surrounded by elves. He's the most innocent, naive person you can believe, and just stuck in New York, and how he still finds the wonder in everything that, everybody else thinks is just dismal and gray, like the scene where he goes into a coffee shop and they sell the world's best coffee, and he's so excited. It's like world's best coffee, it's crap coffee, of course, but he takes it at their word. They have a sign in their window saying it's world's best coffee, so it's got to be the world's best coffee. And just the way he naively accepts everybody, and that sort of optimism that he takes everything on with, that somehow ends up transforming people around him as well. It's just a sweet message at Christmas time.
Jeez, Quimby, spoilers. We just said we haven't seen it. You just told us the whole movie. No, but the premise of it, I'm actually surprised, like even more so now that I haven't seen it. Like a normal sized person as an elf. That's funny just thinking about it. I
Not
do
normal
like,
size. He's freakishly large.
yeah, but you know what I mean. But it's like a giant elf. Will Ferrell in some roles I don't like him. Whereas overall I really do like him. I just thought I won't like him in this for some reason. I think that's partly why it didn't take me a while. I haven't even gotten to it. But I have to say I like the cast, and I'm gonna have to watch this. I get a feeling I'll probably like it. So that killed it, since two out of the three of us haven't seen it. But that's cool. You can just ruin some of our favorites. So let's see. Where are we now? So your top three, Quimby: Elf, Home Alone 2, and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Your
Yep.
bottom three: Christmas with the Cranks, The Santa Claus, and It's a Wonderful Life.
Yep.
Quite a varied kind of list. It's cool. And now Tammy's worst were Home Alone, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and The Polar Express. Now let's talk about Tammy's top three favorite Christmas films.
Well, my third favorite is
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Christmas Vacation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we discussed previously.
Yeah. And your number two has been discussed previously as well.
My number two, my second favorite Christmas film ever is Christmas with the Cranks.
Okay, I have to hear this. Why?
Look, for me, it's one of those films that I can watch again and again. I think I take something different away from it than you do, Quimby, though. I often have thought about ditching Christmas and just, going on holiday somewhere to a tropical island and just having Christmas completely different. And every time I feel brave enough to do it, I almost chicken out and I go, no, I have to have a traditional Christmas, otherwise it's not going to feel like Christmas. And that's what I take away from this film, is that this couple is so determined to go and do something different because their daughter is away at the Peace Corps. And then, granted, she comes home, but they then have to make everything traditional again, which means getting Frosty out, all those things that make Christmas Christmas. That's what I take from this film, and I absolutely love Jamie Lee Curtis in it. And I'm not a huge Tim Allen fan, but when he gets his Botox and he's sitting there having lunch with her, I just think it's one of the funniest things I've seen.
So ultimately, you can relate to this film more than we can, I think.
Yeah, I feel
that makes a difference.
And I think that's what I take from it, that I often try to be brave at Christmas, and then I just go, nah, Christmas isn't Christmas if it's not traditional.
And so maybe that's, well, I think there's a lot of reasons to hate that movie, but I just think just go on your freaking cruise. So what if you disappoint people? I've got no problem disappointing people at Christmas, and...
Oh, see, I don't look at it as them disappointing people by not doing it. which I can see how you take that from the film. I look at it as them trying to nurture themselves when they're feeling at a loss at Christmas.
Mhm.
So it's interesting the different takes on the same film. But yeah, the whole scenario, I just loved it. And that hickory ham scene with Jamie Lee Curtis in the supermarket, oh bless, love it.
The funny thing about this one is I think that's the only film that appears in some list for all three of us. So that's an interesting one. I mean, two of us it appears on a certain list, and with you, Tam, it's on the other. But but still, it's the only one that repeats in all three.
I think for me, there's sort of like I've been the person who sort of ruined Christmas for everybody by not doing what was expected. So maybe there's some trauma involved there.
Nice. So you can relate.
But my take is just like, so what?
So what indeed. All right, Tammy, what's your number one?
Oh, my favorite Christmas film ever is Love Actually.
2003, 7.6 on IMDb, $40 million budget, 245 million return for 6.1 times its budget. Yeah, this film made money, no question. Tell us why.
Everything about this film to me
Just
is
don't say Mariah Carey, okay?
I love the cast for a start, and
Absolutely.
I love the characters, the way they are all intertwined, all their relationships. You're on a journey. You're actually on several journeys at the same time, but it never feels like the story sways from itself. And in the end, the one thing that comes out of it is that it doesn't matter where you are, just be with the ones you love at Christmas. That's what I take from it. Oh, I'm getting teary. Oh, I adore it. I absolutely adore this. I'm going to cry.
This is the one film,
Yeah.
where you can have Hugh Grant as a prime minister, and it actually
and
works.
isn't he a fantastic dancer as a prime minister too?
He was great in it.
Oh, all of them. They were all magical.
Yeah,
absolutely loved it. Still love it.
How do you feel about Love Actually, Quimby?
I mostly like it. There are a couple of storylines that I don't like so much. But my biggest gripe with Love Actually is that it then went on to spawn all those copycat movies like Valentine's Day, Labor Day, all those other ones that just go on. And, you just sort of,
well, that's not this film's fault. This is just copycat's fault.
Well, I get that, but it's sort of this film was pretty good. I mean, like I said, there's a couple of storylines that are just like really like the whole Keira Knightley storyline with the her husband's best friend who's in love with her. That's a little bit creepy.
I didn't mind it.
But I don't know. I just sort of think that if this movie would have been made, then all those other crappy movies wouldn't have been made, and that wouldn't have been a loss for cinema.
I have to say, this film, it was in my top 10. To be exact, number 6. I didn't make it into my top 3, but I do love this film. It's one of my sort of, somewhere up there as far as favorite, romantic comedies. And it is very kitschy. There's no question, but it still got me, and if a film kind of gets me in that way, then I just go, all right, you've done well,
The airport scene makes me cry every time.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And there's something about this film that sort of transcends the kitsch, like it's got a fantastic cast that if it had a different cast, I think it wouldn't have been as good in that way, to transcend the kitsch. Because like Liam Neeson, I thought was fantastic in this. Bill Nighy is just hilarious. Hugh Grant was good, and it has Martine McCutcheon that at that stage she was more a singer than an actress. One of my favorite actresses, Laura Linney. Colin Firth is in here, and although he's also in Bridget Jones' Diary, that I love not. I didn't mind him in this. I actually, he's not the one I dislike in that other movie anyway. But yeah, Emma Thompson, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Martin Freeman, Andrew Lincoln from, The Walking Dead, and Keira Knightley. So yeah, no, I really do love this film.
And the Rowan Atkinson cameo.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yes.
He's brilliant. Yeah.
So good.
You can put Rowan Atkinson in any film and he'll enhance it somehow. So yeah. But yeah, no, it's just very funny, very touching, and highly entertaining film, I think. So even though, Quimby, like you said, some of the storylines were maybe less believable, I just didn't really think of it as I was watching it. I was just entertained. So yeah, it's a good one. I can definitely see it, being number 1. That doesn't, I can't argue that. It's a good one. my top three, which is probably where we are now. Is that right?
Yep.
Maybe I'll give you a bit of a rundown as to the other films that I battled with on my way to to rounding down this list. Some films really surprised me that they were Christmas films, like the number 20 film. It's actually called Carol. And that's a film that was recently up for some Oscars, and it's a drama, and it's a good one, and yeah, it cracked my top 20. And Edward Scissorhands apparently is a Christmas film, so that got in there. And one that I thought would end up in my top 3, and then it ended up 18th, is A Very Harold and Kumar Christmas, which I found freaking hilarious. I laughed hard, in this one. And Home Alone is my 17th. While You Were Sleeping is my 16th.
Is it a Christmas film?
Yes.
See, I think you have too loose of a definition of your Christmas film.
But that's what I said. But that's what I said in the beginning. It's a very loose definition. I told you guys anything Christmas related, you can throw it in. Because initially I thought we were going to struggle, and then eventually I realized, okay, there's a lot of them. So you might be right.
A lot of Christmas films.
But you might be right. But that's what I went with, and that's what I stuck with. But number 15 for me is The Night Before from 2015. Have you guys seen that one?
No.
It's with Seth Rogen, and it's pretty hilarious, at least in parts. It's one of them is Jewish, and he's got this like Christmas sweater with the Star of David and stuff like that. It's a funny film. Probably a lot of drug references in this one, surprisingly, for Seth Rogen. Really? I'll keep going. It's got Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it, and who's the other guy? Anthony Mackie, in a sort of not quite a typical role for him. But yeah, it's from 2015. If you come across it, give it a watch because it's actually pretty entertaining. Okay, 14th, I have The Holiday, which is definitely a Christmas film.
I quite liked that.
Yeah, Jack Black and the rest of them. It's got a pretty good cast. It's more of a drama, but it's sort of labeled a comedy, but it's not really funny. But it really worked for me. And again, going with the loose definitions, another one that's on a lot of lists for Christmas films. I almost said Christmas trees. Ghostbusters 2. Ghostbusters 2, yeah, happens in Christmas, yes. Number 12 on my list is Gremlins. Definitely a Christmas film. The whole thing was about a Christmas present and blah. So yeah. Die Hard 2 is my 11th. Let's just say I didn't put it into the top 10 because I didn't want 2 Die Hard films in the top 10.
You went all Mindy. You went all Mindy from the Mindy Project on us, didn't you? And you're all, my favorite Christmas movie is Die Hard. Do you remember that episode?
Absolutely.
Where she
absolutely, and there's nothing wrong with that. It is a Christmas.
Were you doing it for the same reason, because you wanted to get laid too?
Absolutely. But my top 10, number 10, About a Boy. Again, that's my other Hugh Grant. I love that movie, and it is a Christmas film. My number 9 is Trading Places, which is also a Christmas film. My number 8 is one that I wanted to push up to the top 3, but I decided it's not enough of a Christmas film, and that's In Bruges, which is sort of a hitman film, which is really funny. Another Christmas film that pops on a lot of lists, and I'm sure you'll probably argue it, but it's Lethal Weapon. My number 6, as I said, Love Actually. My number 5 that I really struggle to drop from the top 3 is Scrooged with Bill Murray. I love that movie. I don't know why, but it ranked in a lot of lists, but on the lower end. I actually thought it would be higher. My number 4 is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the Val Kilmer, Robert Downey Jr. film. Again, sort of a loose Christmas film, but a very good film. Okay, so my top 3. Let's do this. As you can tell, I really thought about this stuff. My number 3 is The Long Kiss Goodnight, 1996.
You will skate to the edge, princess.
Absolutely. Now tell me that's not a Christmas film.
Yeah, no, now you say it. It is. It is all about Christmas. It is actually, because
it is.
Yeah, she has the accident.
And I almost had it at number 1, and I kept sort of, and I thought it's not going to slip out of my top 3. I love this movie. And you also talk about, you just mentioned before, female protagonists. This is one of my favorites.
She's such a fantastic protagonist.
Ass kicker. Yeah, she's an ass kicker in this one. And 6.8 IMDb average, which I thought was low, but whatever. $65 million budget, which I thought was high. And just under 90 million box office for 1.4 times its budget it definitely lost money at that stage. It may have brought some back, later on with physical copies and shit like that, and streaming and all the rest of it. But I think it's a very, very underrated film.
I think it's a great film, but it was released October 11th in the US. That's way too early to be classed as a Christmas film. I'm just arguing with you on the definition of Christmas film there.
But it's a Christmas film. Christmas is a major part of the plot.
It was released way too early. Okay, for instance,
I'm not talking about Christmas, but it's not about Christmas release.
Yeah, but I'm saying you can't release a Christmas film before Thanksgiving. If it's released before Thanksgiving, it doesn't count as a Christmas film.
Of course you can.
And I'm talking American Thanksgiving, not Canadian Thanksgiving.
What the hell do Americans know about anything anyway? Come on, seriously.
We commercialize Christmas like nobody else. We
Absolutely.
are yeah.
That's I'm not arguing that. But directed by Rennie Harlin, written by Shane Black, starring Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson, who's hilarious in this. Yeah, just a fantastic action film that is definitely, no question, a Christmas film. I'm definitely glad that Tammy is on my side on this one.
I don't think it could be a Christmas film if it's released before Thanksgiving.
It doesn't matter. It makes no difference. It's not about when it was released. It's about the actual film, which is going to come up again now. But my number 2, Die Hard, 1988. 8.2 IMDb average, 28 million budget, 142 million return for 5.1 times its budget. As we know, a massive success that led to not as good, continued sort of franchise. But yeah, no, I think it's a Christmas film, and I do love it.
We have Die Hard as a Christmas tradition in our house. So each year we have to watch Love Actually and we have to watch Die Hard. And Die Hard actually sits just outside my top 3 as one of my favourite Christmas films too. And interestingly enough, the second film in our top 3 is to have Alan Rickman star in it.
True that. Bruce Willis, Alan Rickman, Bonnie Bedelia, John McTiernan film. I don't know anyone who doesn't know Die Hard. But yeah, when Christmas films were brought up, I always thought that it should be mentioned, but nobody mentioned it, way back when. And to me, that just seemed like, because action films are not supposed to be Christmas films. That's what I thought at the time. And then people started raising the argument that, hey, this is a Christmas film. And I thought, you know what, it really is. And people should say that. And this whole thing, he's coming back for Christmas, hasn't seen his wife, the whole thing that happens there, the whole little, subplots and everything. And it all happens during a Christmas party at the Nakatomi Plaza. So, German terrorists, what's more Christmas than that? What do you think about Die Hard, Quimby?
Look, it was released before Christmas, but
woohoo! By your definition, it's a Christmas film.
No, it was released before Thanksgiving, but I'm willing to make an exception and call it a Thanksgiving film. Christmas film, even though it was released but because it is set all on Christmas. I don't think anybody can not like Die Hard. I don't want to meet anybody who doesn't like Die Hard. Let's put it that way.
What kind of parallel universe would that have to be?
Exactly, right?
I mean yippee-ki-yay, right?
I will allow it, but I do think that you and Mindy might have a little bit too much in common there.
Because again, I'm not saying it's my favorite. It's my number 2. I didn't want to make it too common, I guess. A lot of people who love Die Hard have it as their number 1. It's potentially the best film on my top 20 list, but not necessarily. I even have a tough time separating it from The Long Kiss Goodnight, that I think is a really, really good and underrated film. But on that note, I'll let you know what my number 1 is. And it hasn't come up on any list here yet, but it is Bad Santa, 2003.
Oh, you are kidding me.
I love that film to death.
I figured it'd be on your list.
It is hilarious. Look, if there's ever going to be a film where you hear the words fudge, me Santa, this has to be something. I just find it really, really hilarious. I love the take, that it's like the anti-Christmas movie in a way, although it does kind of come around. But I just find it hilarious. 7 out of 10 on IMDb, $23 million budget, 75 million return, 3.3 times the budget. Made a profit, and won my heart in the process. So
all I'm going to say is that, hey, that's the second movie on our list to star Billy Bob Thornton.
Which was the first one? I can't remember.
He was in Love Actually as the American president.
Oh, yes, of course. Of course he was. But yeah,
I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
I love it. It is so funny. And then Bad Santa 2 was very, very disappointing. But Bad Santa, I love. I thought it was clever. I don't know. It just cracked me up from start to finish. I just love that kind of humor. Terry Zwigoff, the director at the time, I was like really trying to follow, see what he comes up with next. Billy Bob Thornton was great. Bernie Mac, Lauren Graham. Yeah, very, very funny film. And it's my kind of humor, I think. It just kind of hit me in my sweet spot. And whenever I think Christmas films, it's sort of the first one that pops up into my head. So yeah. That's me.
Peter always really liked that film. Well, Peter quite liked that film. I remember him laughing quite a bit the first time we watched it. I wasn't ever as enamored of it as he was. But something struck me. I actually watched this one just in the background a couple of weeks ago when I was doing some studying. And I have to say, John Ritter's in it. And I have to say that there's a scene, I think it was John Ritter and maybe Bernie Mac together. And it just sort of got me because they're both comedy legends and they're both dead now.
Yeah, both no longer with us. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was just a bit, it's just a bit sad seeing them together on screen like that. But yeah, it's not one that you can really watch with the kids.
Definitely not for the kids. It's just, I don't know, I just found it so amusing, that he worked as a Santa, with his outlook on life and the way he was and everything. It just cracked me up every time, seeing him in that suit. And I thought that, Billy Bob Thornton, I think, is an underrated actor. He's been in a lot of films and TV series, actually, where I thought he was just brilliant. And this was just one of them. It just really, really worked for me. But I haven't seen it top anyone's list, so it's just really a personal thing, personal taste thing, which what these lists are all about, I think. Because again, we're not trying to say this is the best film, the best Christmas film of all time or whatever. I'm just saying it's my favorite. So yeah, that I think got us to the end of it. We've done all three lists, and we are not any wiser, are we? When it comes to Christmas, I still don't feel any closeness to Christmas. I find that very disappointing. I thought that maybe this episode will open that door, and I'll get a tree and start decorating it. A bit of eggnog, start singing some some Christmas songs and piss off my neighbors, stuff like that. But no, I'll stick to just waiting for New Year's.
Maybe one day you'll get there.
You'll. That's hilarious.
I always
Thank you, Griswolds.
I always think it's a shame that Christmas is a public holiday here and everything shuts down, because honestly, my perfect Christmas would be doing, the American Jewish stereotype of going to the movies and going out for Chinese.
I actually thought you were going to say, I think it's a shame that you're Jewish. That would have been funnier.
Well, that explains your number one film, at least.
Well, I mean, you'll have to edit this out, but I don't care if you're Jewish. It's no skin off my back if you go to hell.
I do have to say, Bad Santa being my number one film really has nothing to do with that. It's really more about my taste in humor than anything. And it's partly the reason why I left Scrooged out of the top three, and it's at fifth, because I found there's a little bit of a similarity between those two.
Yeah.
Between which two?
Scrooged and Bad Santa.
Okay.
Just in attitude, it's the whole thing.
I'll always put Bill Murray above Billy Bob Thornton any day.
As overall, I'd say, yeah, I agree with that. Doesn't take away from Billy Bob Thornton, though. But yeah, Bad Santa just did it better, I think.
I was just thinking Bill Murray and Slingshot. That'd be hilarious. The one that
Sling Blade.
The one that Sling Blade. Yeah, sorry, Sling Blade. Bill Murray and Sling Blade would just be a totally different movie.
Yeah, but I think he could pull it off. It's just whether he could not be funny. Interesting. But, I think he's past it now. He's a bit too old to play that role, but it would have been funny. I don't think Bill Murray can be not funny.
Lost in translation.
Yeah, he was still a little bit funny.
Mm.
He just has that in him, but yeah.
Have you done Bill Murray yet? We might have to do Bill Murray.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love him. But yeah, so on that note, this is the end of our Christmas special. A Christmas special that was very special on many, many accounts. But yeah, no, I like that we mainly disagree on a lot. Well, maybe 50-50-ish.
Mainly on Christmas with the Cranks. Come on.
I don't know. You guys both liked it. Oh, no, sorry. Christmas with the Cranks. Yeah. No, you liked it. We hated it. Hated it. But yeah.
But at least we've taken out of it, I need to watch The Elf. That's a good thing.
Yeah. We're growing. Some positives out of this. But yeah, I don't know. As I was putting the list together, I actually thought about a lot of films that I need to watch again, to just kind of refresh my memory sort of on how good they are. But yeah, I think a lot of these films work for me, despite the fact that they're Christmas films. I'm not a big fan of Christmas films, so, if they fall into that definition, rather easily. You hit on that, Tam, that Love Actually, your number one, is probably my favorite Christmas film that is a Christmas film by definition, really. You can't really dispute that. I think the rest of my top five are really more anti-Christmas than Christmas, but yeah.
Was Love Actually released within your time frame, Quimby?
Must have been.
Love Actually, I think is definitely a Christmas movie because it's centered all around Christmas. It was released I'm just trying to find it here. It was actually released 26th of December 2003, apparently, which technically makes it too late to be a Christmas film, but I will allow it.
So it was released on Boxing Day.
Boxing Day.
No, they are.
Yeah.
No, that's Christmas
Boxing
Day.
Day is the 26th.
Yeah. Oh wow, I thought it would have been released before.
I'm not sure where that release date is from. If that's from Australia, or if that. Yeah.
The question is when it was released. Really, I think in the UK more than anything. It's more a British film than anything. So who knows? We can. I will
Google it. Hold on, let me find it.
But like
one
you say,
thing that
yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, I actually Googled Love Actually release date UK, and it came with the Australia. So good for you, Google.
Very
it
helpful.
says it was released. Actually, it was released in the US before it was released in the UK. It was released the 14th of November in the United States, which makes it too early to fit my definition. 21st of December, 21st of November in the United Kingdom, which again makes it too early to fit my definition. But I will allow it as a Christmas movie because it is set all around Christmas. And at least it wasn't released in October like The Longest Goodnight. So.
I think it's actually clever releasing it in November because it'll get, however many views, however many tickets sold up to Christmas, and then it'll, hit up again because everybody's going to go see it at Christmas. I think that was the strategy. So I'd say it's definitely a Christmas film. You can't really argue that one. It's all of it is Christmas. And again, for a long, long time, I couldn't get Mariah Carey's version of All I Want from Christmas out of my head. So
is that a bad thing?
It's not a good thing. Especially, singing it in synagogue. I'm joking. I don't go to synagogue. But yeah, no, it's not really a song I'd like to be, humming to all day. But it is very catchy. Yeah, after every time for at least like 3 days to 3 months after watching this movie, it would be in my head. It is relentless.
Great film.
Yeah. But on that
note, thanks guys for having me. I appreciate being able to express my opinion.
Absolutely. Everybody's opinion is valid on this podcast. Like I said, it's really a favorite.
Well,
well, what? I want to hear the rest of that.
That was all.
But yeah. I hope we can do this again in the future. Now you got me thinking about that female protagonist thing. That would be interesting. So thank you, Quimby. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
For joining me on this very, very non-Jewish episode.
And the bushfire's under control, so didn't have to leave.
Are you going to need to get your marshmallows or?
No, it's all under control now, so they'll just be mopping it up.
No, that's a shame. So. No marshmallows. Oh well. That would have been a whole new Christmas tradition. All right. Well, again, thank you for joining me today. It's been fun. And hopefully we can do this again at some stage. And let's just say that, we're recording this a little bit pre-Christmas, but it will be released around Christmas. So I'll just say Merry Christmas to anyone listening. And we'll catch you again next time.
Thanks. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Best and Worst podcast.
We'd like to thank everyone who joined and listened to the show. We appreciate you all and hope you'll keep coming back for following episodes. A big thank you goes out to Tam Heinjus for helping us out tremendously and voicing our intro, and Scott Martin for working his magic on the intro sound edit. Also, a big thank you goes out to Asaf Angel for all the help with the logo design. Great work, everyone. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you.
If you like the show, then please recommend the podcast to your family and friends, and subscribe, share, follow, leave a comment. You know the drill. We're available on most streaming sites, and you can also check out our socials. For more information, please check out the show notes. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again next week.